Love you.
Hey guys, Matt McQueeny of the Mix Minus Podcast. What you just heard was my son Liam. I was able to get him to record a couple of words, which is very hard to do with a toddler. And I had to cut out quite a bit because he started pulling headphones, he started pulling the mic. But I did get him to say, hello, I love you. And I thought, why not bring the whole family into this? This is an episode that I did with my wife, Melany McQueeny. And we talk all about where we are in life with raising kids, and we make a big discussion on sleeping, which is such an interesting thing. It's 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours of our life that we do unconsciously, subconsciously, and in most relationships, one side has to deal with the crazy subliminal messaging coming out of our sleeping lives. And in that case, it is my wife Melany who has to deal with me, the sleep talker, I've never been a sleepwalker, but the snorer, all that kind of stuff. So we walk through all that stuff and all the stories we have in the well for that. So let's jump right in with my wife, Melany McQueeny. So apparently pigs fly because Melany McQueeny has joined the podcast. What are you thinking right now? Or you feel special?
No. I don't.
Do you just give me a hard time about not appearing, or do you actually get upset that you don't appear?
No, I give you a hard time.
Well, now...
it's hard to appear. There's not a lot of time.
Well, now you are a podcast star, so I have to have you.
Why is that?
Because you just appeared on a different podcast.
Oh, that's true. That's right. I've been heavily sought after.
We're still waiting for it to come out, but
hopefully it will.
It's pretty amazing the way that whole thing happened, right? It was almost meant to happen.
Right.
That story.
Yeah.
That was early on. That was like sometime maybe in the 30s of this show when we had the call to witness people here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We co-hosted. We had two people here. We had someone on the phone.
Right.
I think we were going to some kind of doctor appointment. That day, we stayed overnight somewhere else. We were driving like crazy to get home for these people.
Wow.
It's like, it's nuts. And it felt like really big time.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true.
And then everybody had like those huge coffee cups. And so everyone had to go to the bathroom. And it was like an hour and a half. People are like crying and tearing. And then everyone, when it ended, ran upstairs because it was just, it was like an hour and a half. But it was the call to witness story, which I think that this one's always interesting because there was this idea to try to get people who appear at our bookstore in town, the Sparta Books,
right,
and see, hey, if they're coming to Sparta Books, why wouldn't they be willing to just come down the road? Mm-hmm. Or why wouldn't they be willing to come on and promote that appearance?
Right.
And that one ended up taking on such a life of its own because the story had to do with multiple sclerosis. It had to do with employment rights.
Right. And
it was almost like the story was almost too good to be true. And then all of a sudden they're coming to our house and
yeah,
they're appearing on it. And
we developed a relationship with them.
We had dinners with them.
Right.
And then they ended up having you on their podcast. What was that like for you?
I don't know. I think it was just like being interviewed in any type of outlet, whether it being, this type of outlet or paper or
were you nervous?
Telephone. No, I don't think I was nervous. I think trying to refresh myself, with the book again a little bit, that was a little, nerve-wracking trying to get that in.
Isn't it amazing how much you forget in something like a book like that? Like you have the wide sweeps of things.
Yeah, and it's funny. I don't know if I necessarily forget a lot in books, but I feel like I forget a lot more in life in general. My memory is not as good as other people's memories.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to someone who forgets everything.
No, but you even remembered, we were, when we had them on, how we were, rushing back to get here. And
well, it was such a flashbulb memory because it was early on. It was one of the first, it might have been the first in-person guest of like an outsider coming to our home. And you were worried about, not you, but you in the general sense, one was worried about getting the story right, not
right.
feeling like a fool because it was so early on. I think we were in the hotel the night before. I was still reading the book to finish it at that time.
Yeah.
And then just getting all the questions together. And it was, it was kind of tough, but it's fun the way this creates relationships like
Yes.
that, where you can just, and you went to almost like some like treehouse, right? For the podcast. It had like a feel like that.
Yeah, it was in the produced. I guess it's the producer. It's her home, and it's literally like a log cabin out in Pennsylvania. And she has a tiny room in the back, and it's she's also a musician, so a lot of musical type of art on the walls, which I appreciated, and a tiny little room with a desk and chairs, and
But you got into it pretty quickly, and it felt comfortable.
And it never really felt uncomfortable. No.
Just wait for that to come out. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep as a parent is very tough.
Right.
Not for us, knock on wood, so far. We'll see in future kids potentially if that changes. We have a toddler now who, since he's been 1 month old, has slept the night the majority of the time.
I mean, and I think slept the night is questionable of what to say with that.
Well, no, but
like what equates to sleeping through the night?
Well, we're not getting up to go to like be with him,
right?
Really,
but
at all.
Yeah, but like,
but it still affects you because you get up. You're very sensitive.
No. Like even just, I remember, like I have videos of him in January of like when he was first born, and he's in the crib, and I'm talking to him about what he did, but I guess it is sleeping through the night. Yeah, he was even though it was really early. He's always been an early riser though, except when he's sick.
But he stays in bed.
He does. He has a party, but I'm up once I hear him. Unlike you.
No, I can stay there. That was like such a transition when he leaves the room and goes to his own room.
Sure.
And even it was a transition when he was in our room, and then you give yourself up to be ready to sleep the night. I remember the first time, and we woke up and it was like 7, and we went, oh my
I think
God.
it was 6 something, by the way. It wasn't 7.
Go with 7. But we were like, oh my God, is he okay? And it's like when he was sleeping, it's just like, oh, thank goodness. Everything was fine and we got a full night of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a little bit of that though. You're always sort of on edge, right? There's always something on your mind with a sleeping baby,
right?
No matter what it is, even if they sleep the night,
that
worries you. And now that our whole monitor's out, that brings a different aspect to it.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's so funny because when we wake up, if we go to work out, like the things we do as if we're like walking, as if we're trying to rob a home. I feel like when we wake up in the morning to work out and you go downstairs to work out and I go to the gym and I purposely get up on the days you get up because I need someone to wake me up.
Right.
And so we're like two robbers. We put ski masks on.
Well, I often think about that because I turn on my iPhone light to walk downstairs, and I often think if the neighbors are up early and they're watching, they might think that somebody's in the house like with a flashlight robbing us.
But it's literally like you're like, I'm going to ransack downstairs, you take care of upstairs. So you're like walking down. We are insane because we have a good baby, but yet we don't step on the last step because it has a crack.
No, you can now, because I think it's only in the summertime that happens.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't make a noise now. I've noticed it.
Yeah, that was like the bird that flew into that window. Remember that? For like a month straight.
Yeah.
But I don't know about that. So
no,
you just decided
I'm almost
that?
positive.
Really? So you're stepping on the last step.
I'm stepping on
but
the
that's
last
how
step.
ridiculous this is. That like we weren't stepping on the last step. We're getting up at 5 to work out. A baby can sleep through that. Mm-hmm. But you're going down with an iPhone light. I'm going to the other side of the house with an iPhone light. I'm like, because at night, of course, we pick the room in the house for the baby, which is the most sensical room for the baby, where it seems like a nursery, but of course it doesn't get heat in that room. The way the heat system works, his room is the last one in the house to get heat.
Or cooling.
Yeah. So when we put him to bed, we'll close the door. And then when we go to bed, we'll open the door so that the heat can rush up into the room. But then for some reason, I don't know why, you want me to go there at my very peril. And like I'm tippy-toeing with the iPhone light and then you hit like a little crack, and then all of a sudden the sirens go off. No, but you hit a little crack, and then you slowly go into the crack. You like learn the cracks too.
The reason why I have you close his door is because you go down to the kitchen and you make, coffee. And then you go out through the garage and, there's lots of noise. And he's a sensitive sleeper.
It's just insane that it's like 5 a.m. and we're like,
we're
agree. Pushing the envelope to get up.
But I think a lot of parents do this, by the way.
I tippy toe in. I reach into the room really quietly, and then I'll hear, and you're like, oh my God, I got caught. And you're just like, oh no. And then you just slowly close the door, but you can't let it hit. He's that sensitive a sleeper. You get it closed, and then you slowly tippy toe back, adding about 7 minutes to the process.
It's true.
Tippy toe down the stairs.
Is that why you're getting back so late? Is that what you're going to blame it on?
Yes. Tippy toe down the stairs. And yes, once in a while, make myself a cup of coffee, which, by the way, blows out the entire need of this whole quiet thing, because then you got the Keurig and it's like...
Well, that's why I have you close the door. But you also, like, when you work out at home, you think that you're safe by the time you get to these steps, but you are so loud going down to the basement.
Me?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Like, I can hear you. You're very heavily footed.
Oh, like singing in the rain down the stairs?
You're like so loud.
Can you hear the TV when it's playing?
No.
Can you hear the weights and the treadmill and everything?
Not from upstairs.
But I feel like when you're down here, you can hear upstairs. And I don't know if that's just the pipes doing their thing or not.
Well, we can hear when he's knocking. Can't you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear when he's knocking. Oh, It's unbelievable to get up at 5 to work out for this kid. And he's just...
And by knocking, we mean him banging himself into
he does this crazy banging situation. And it's amazing, like, when people hear it for the first time and you're like, no, it's normal. And it sounds like someone's being beaten to death upstairs.
Yeah, he's a roller.
And we have a funny thing with sleep because I have very interesting sleep patterns. I guess I'm very calm during the day because it all gets let out at night. I'm like a werewolf, right?
Well, your brother made me feel very bad about it. Mike said the one time that, it's suppressed stress.
Right. You hold it all in during the day and it comes out, and maybe it all evens out.
Right.
But I think I had no real idea about this because I was only sleeping with like 10 or 15 women at a time.
What?
And so they just, the party, the drugs, no one heard anything.
Oh my God.
But it just went. It gets out of control, right? Has it calmed down or no? Is it as bad as it was in the beginning?
I mean, it's pretty consistent still.
Yeah. What is that though?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is. I that's why we need an expert on. You need to contact the doctors. It's very weird.
So in the beginning, obviously, we're not in the same bed every night. In a relationship.
Right.
Once a week on visits, maybe twice a week.
Right.
And the first time was the epic time, correct?
Well, that was just my introduction to what was to come for the rest of my life.
So I will preface this by saying there was a story one time where I went up with a group of men, maybe 5 or 6 guys. We went to Vermont to go skiing.
But how old were you?
1920, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, other than being in a hotel room with like my brother or something, or being in a hotel room with my dad, I'm not exposed to many people sleeping in my vicinity during the night. So all these years, you get these little whispers that things happen.
Right.
And the first time I can vividly remember people saying so we went up to Vermont, group of dudes to go.
I thought you never went to Vermont.
No, we went to Vermont. No, but it was like Rutland and Killington type of deal. And it was just like one night.
I thought us going to Vermont was the first time.
Well, that was fun, but like, no, this was just winter. And I don't even remember if we ended up skiing or snowboarding. It was like such a weird trip, but we did write a really good song that the members of the Number 12 Looks Like You, who were in this band, and we put this song together called Under Vermont Skies. But that's a different story. I remember waking up the next morning after we had gotten up there. And first of all, my stuff comes out when weird situations are going. Like we're drinking coffee at night, we're traveling, everyone's getting to sleep at like 1:30 in the morning. Like you're off kilter. And I remember getting up in the morning and everyone seemed really guarded around me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what's going on? And they're like, are you okay? And I said, yeah. They said, literally, you like shot up out of bed and there's like 7 people sleeping across 2 beds like, in weird situations. Right. And they're like, you literally shot up out of bed and you just started speaking like Swahili and screaming. All of us jumped out of bed and ran to the other side of the room and held up a ironing board. And we were just like staring you down and you just kept going. And then you went back down and went to sleep. Mm-hmm. What the hell was that? And so, you don't think much of it because when you're the one who's sleeping, you don't know what happened. Right. It's like a bizarre fugue state. Mm-hmm. It's like the scene in Breaking Bad when Walt White is in his underwear, although he was making the story up. Mm. And then you come into my life. Mm-hmm. And now you are the one who is bearing the burden, the brunt of all of this. Mm-hmm. So why don't you say the first time this happened?
Well, you warned me right before we went to sleep and you said, just so you know, I've heard that I can be a little bit of a sleep talker. And I was like, oh, okay. Which I've, slept with other, my friends who
slept with many sleep talkers.
Even,
bad
Celeste.
Boys, the bad boys of the night.
No, actually, no men that I ever had that happen. But, when I went away on tour, like I remember my friend Celeste, my best friend Celeste, she woke up and she was speaking but then goes back to sleep. But anyway, so I just thought it would be no big deal. And so we were sleeping. And then at some point in the middle of the night, you woke me up, not you trying to wake me up, but you just started when it was whatever language, it was like you were speaking in tongues. And
what is that?
You were laying on your back and you had your hands up. It's very hard to do a visual on a podcast.
It was like the hectopods in Arrival, right?
Yeah.
Or like somebody thinking.
Yeah, like somebody thinking and tapping their fingers together really quickly, and you just were like, ah, la, 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 ah, la, 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 and it literally scared me because you were really loud about it. And
what did you think it was, though?
What do you mean? When did I think
what did you think that was? Were you just
I saw you doing this, and then I was so frightened, and I was like, well, I guess that's what he's talking about.
Were you tired enough that you went with the flow, though?
What does that mean?
Are you so tired being woken up by this that if you were more awake, you would have left?
No.
So you weren't that afraid?
No.
Was it like seeing ridiculous. A ghost afraid?
No, it just was startling, Matt, because you're speaking in tongues. It's like you're being possessed by something. So then you stop and then that's it. And because this was further on into our relationship, it's not like you were a stranger. Jeez, I'm not sharing a bed with a stranger and then being like, oh, it's all right, you can sleep.
Was this before or after you found out I didn't wash my sheets? On my own. My mom always washed.
I don't remember where this was in our relationship, but I wasn't living with you or anything.
What was more horrifying?
Probably finding out that you didn't know that you had to wash your sheets. But anyway, so that was the first time. And then... wasn't there more to that? Didn't I then go to the... No, that was a separate time. Night? No, that was another time.
There was there was almost like spirits in that Edgewater condo. Because so many weird things happened in that condo with Mike when he would stay over.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a difference. It's weird because sometimes...
I don't do that at home anymore, right?
I have to stop you from getting out of bed.
Is it because you understand me now? You know that I'll do this?
No, because, well, first of all, so there was that time, but then the other time you got up out of bed, because people get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Sometimes I do that. So I saw you get up and you slept on the other side of the bed. You slept on the side of the bed where you had to which was further away from the door. So you got up and started walking towards outside the room. And I said, oh, what are you doing? And you said, oh, I just need to get something. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. And I saw you go out in the hallway and you turned on the bathroom light in the hallway. And then you start walking towards me with toilet paper. You had taken off squares of toilet paper. And I said, what are you doing? And you just walked towards me and you gently placed this toilet paper on me. And then you started walking walking away, going back to your side of the bed. And I said, what should I do with this? And you said, oh, I don't know. Just put it over there. And so then you were getting back into bed. And I said, you left the light on. And you just got back into bed. So I climbed out of bed and I turned off the light and I got back into bed and you said, oh, you're the best. And then that was it. And you don't remember that. So that's, you know, I didn't know it was going to where I didn't know I was going to end up with toilet paper on me as a little blanket, but you know.
But did you know that you had me then? Or that, you know, I was with you at that point? Was that our going steady conversation?
Please. But no, this is still, I remember telling this story though to some of my students, and we were engaged at this point, and I was telling a group of my students this story because it's so ridiculous. The toilet paper placement and the way that you just tiptoed over to me and gently placed it on me. I remember one of the teachers that I worked with, who has since retired, pulled me into the music office and was just like, she had walked in the class, you know, walked through the class to go to her desk. And she said, you know, I don't even talk about, you know, my husband, and we're married and that stuff. And I was like, oh, well, it's not like I said we were doing anything except sleeping and him placing toilet paper on me. But
then it continues, right? I mean, it's regular. What was the next big thing? Because I always remember this one, but it's almost like, for me, having a form of like unconscious incontinence. That makes sense, because you don't know, you can't control this.
No, and it's now at the point now that you have a sleep mask for that
saved it, right? That saved our relationship, kind of.
Well, in terms of snoring, and I'm just a very sensitive sleeper. There are people that can sleep through people snoring. I can't. It used to start, you know, when it first was bad, I used to just hit you and tell you to roll over. Or I would gently tell you to roll over. So you would roll over and then it would stop, because it used to just be you would only snore if you were on your back.
Right, but or if I didn't have two pillows.
But then it progressed to now it became snoring if you were on your sides.
And now you're mad with me having the sleep machine on if it's slightly askew from my nostril.
No, but then it's like, so now I just kind of violently hit you and then you'll move and then it kind of stops, or I'll tell you to put on your mask, your sleep mask, and then that reminds me that we were talking about your sleep mask. But anyway, my coworkers. But anyway,
what?
But the fact that you get so mad if I tell you to put it on, and like that's another sleep state. You like refuse, or like you said, but we're about to get up, and I'll say, Matt, it's like 1:00 in the morning. We're not going to get up anytime soon. But then the thing that's annoying now, though, is that if it's askew, like you said, I will wake up in the middle of the night if you're facing me and I'm getting hit with like
cool air, nice air.
This wind of like the Giant Stadium wind tunnel being blown onto my face. And it's because it's like half on your face and half off. And then I'll tell you to fix it. And then, of course, once I say anything about you fixing your mask, you just automatically turn it off and take it off.
Angrily, right? Don't I slam it down on the thing?
Depends. You're just you're just nasty when you sleep.
Not cooperative.
No, you're not cooperative.
I was just telling at my favorite little coffee place in town here, Cloveberry. I was telling the baristas, I said, I used to, because of course I have to show them that I feel their pain. And I said, I used to open a coffee place. Mm-hmm. A place called Java's Brewing in Mahwah. It was right down maybe 2 blocks from my house. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I graduated from NYU and I sort of left to go to Arizona, and then I came back. I was playing in bands, and then at some point I'm like, oh, let me get a job. And I didn't think any different about like just getting a job at a coffee place at 22, 23. And I was all in for it, and it was fun. It was interesting. My mom ended up working there with me too. Mm-hmm. And you had that too, like your mom at the bookstore you worked at.
Yeah. Yep.
But I used to have to get up at 5 a.m. because I would open the store by myself, all by myself. But I had to go to the bagel place down the street, further down the street, like a mile, and I had to pick up the bagels. And then that was the bagels they used at this place, for if people wanted them, great bagels. And so I'd have to get up at 5, get the bagels, get into the coffee place by like 5:25, do all the startup stuff. And I think it ultimately opened at 6, I believe. Maybe 5:30, but I think 6. But the pressure of early morning, and I mean, this is the very reason why I wake up to work out on the days you get up, because I can't trust myself to get up by myself. But because of that, that was brutal for me at this job. And I think when you go into a job like this, you convince yourself in your rested state, everything's going to be fine. This will be great. You know, I'll get up, I'll go do this. I'll be out by 10. I'll go work out. I'll do whatever, so-and-so. But as time goes, you don't get as rested because you're getting up at 5 every day. And the more that goes on, there's like a psychosis that kicks in where it's like you're then underslept, which makes you a little paranoid.
Well, that's
and then
why
you have to turn back around. You're drinking. I have a shirt that I still wear from that place called Sleep is Overrated. There was literally a coffee in this place called Shock Coffee. And it was coffee with extra caffeine. Like, what? And so I'm saying to myself, well, I'm getting up early. I can have the coffee with extra caffeine. And then I would literally have like a nervous breakdown to the point where when my shift ended at 10, I would, because this was in the fall, so it was still kind of warm, I would drive a bike to go do this stuff. So I'm like driving a bicycle at like 5:30 in the morning to get the bagels and then back to the coffee shop. And then when I would be done with the coffee shop, I would drive the bike 2 miles to the New York Sports Club, work out, run, do everything. Because I got this Shock Coffee. I'm like, I got to wear this stuff out. And I would bike all the way back home and then just like do 1,000 push-ups. Like it was just, it was over the top. But you get to this point, which is my roundabout point. You get to this point where you're so zoned in on having to get up that it like starts to play with your brain. And I was telling these girls at the coffee place, I said, when I had to open, like a month in, I was so neurotic about having to open that there was one point, and this would happen a lot, and I would catch myself, but this time I didn't catch myself. I got up when I, quote unquote, heard the alarm. I went down, took a full shower, not a half shower, took a full shower, got out, dried myself off, brushed my teeth, did all this stuff, and then I looked at the clock. It said 1:30 a.m.
Oh, God. Right.
So I'd got up at 1 instead of 5.
Yeah.
Something played with my mind. Even though an alarm didn't go off. Went back to bed.
Yeah. Did you wake up and shower again or no?
I felt unshowered, but I still went ahead and went on with my day. There was something about breaking the after midnight time that made me okay. Yeah. But it's amazing how that plays with your brain.
Well, when we had Liam, we'd never, ever had him in our bed to sleep with us. Like, we never have done that. But for whatever reason, once we had him, that's one of the biggest reasons I was so concerned about him sleeping in our room, because of how you are. And I was so nervous that you would, and there were a couple times where you would start your process of waking and saying ridiculous things. And I would say, you're going to wake Liam, you're going to wake Liam. And then you now do this thing, and you still do it, where you think that he's in our bed. And you wake up and you're telling me I'm going to roll over on him, or you're freaking out going, oh my God, he's there. And I said, no, he's not there. And it's very bizarre. It's very bizarre.
Yeah. Sleep is so bizarre with me. Like I almost never have like a
restful night of sleep.
Yeah.
But you do. There are uneventful nights too, by the way.
Is it weird to you when there's an uneventful night? And do you wonder what led to it?
No.
You keep notes. Well, you used to record me.
No, I would only record you snoring.
And then you'd play it for your class.
No, I would never play it for my class. I would play it for you to tell you how ridiculous it was.
It's not nice.
Well, because if I tell you, this was before we had you do a sleep study.
Which is insane. What were the other greatest hits with the sleeping? There were some doozies that you would actually tell your class about, like you said, and you'd get in trouble for doing. Well,
there are times where you're actually like trying to, like, I feel like a lot of pressure all of a sudden I'm like being pushed on.
Oh, I'll like push your leg, right? Or
right.
Something?
You like push my leg.
I don't know how that doesn't freak you out to such a degree. Like, are you ever afraid?
No.
Like, you think you can just manage my...
I guess you're just not an intimidating of a figure to me.
You can just manage the weirdness? But, like, it's not me, right? I mean, isn't it freaky when you look at me and it's not me?
I really hope this isn't going to lead to some weird event happening tonight, by the way.
We'll have to do another podcast
I guess so.
I'm so interested by that. And the other weird thing
My mom always says that because I'll tell her, like, if I'm on the way to work and I'll be like, oh, so Matt said this last night or he did this. And she said, that would really bother me. She always says that. That would really bother me. That doesn't bother you?
Well, and if, like, there was a dog, that would be weird, right? Because dogs get...
What?
No, like a dog. Like, like if we had a dog.
Like sleeping in the bed?
No, like in your room or in, like, in a dog bed, right? Like, what would a dog do if he saw the owner acting...
Bizarre? Well, it depends on the dog, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I'm always interested. I don't really dream.
But I've had to stop you getting out of bed or getting out of the bedroom. Like, there have been times, too, where you'll say you're going to get Liam. It's very, very weird.
I think I especially do it when there's an expectation to get up in the morning early. There's it's
you always say that, but that's not really true with you. And then also, it's weird sometimes because sometimes I'll just calm you down and tell you, Matt, you're dreaming. Matt, you're dreaming. You're sleep talking. And then you'll go back to sleep. Or there's other times where all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, and then you'll start looking at your phone.
Well, I liked when, like, this is how sensitive I am as a small little man. Like, I always love that Onion where it's like, that Onion article where it's like, sad little man is up because he had coffee after 6 p.m., And I learned eventually, early 20s, that coffee stays in me for 6 hours. Mm-hmm. So if I have it at 7, I'm not going to bed any earlier than 1.
Right.
8, same thing. So I really try to stay away from it late. I mean, even today we had the lattes, which are heavy. Right. You're decaf. I'm not. I was like, I did this podcast today and I was going nuts. I was just totally, it was like I did a couple of lines of Coke or something. I was nuts and I'm still feeling it.
That's a nice comparison.
Still feeling it. No, I mean, it's good, nothing like that.
Oh, stop it.
But I do notice when, like, I'm so sensitive with vitamins too. Like, we know I can't have normal vitamins. I have to have gummy vitamins. So you have to pick me up gummy vitamins because as a man, I can't go buy them. Do you understand
our son doesn't even have gummy vitamins? He actually has a hard...
Man's vitamins. Yeah, I can't do it though. I get freaked out. I get paranoid. I get sick. Like, I can't do it.
It's all in your head, by the way.
But I can only have one of your magnesiums at night, which are good for muscle relaxation. If I have 2... I'm okay the first night, but a couple of nights and I start to get a headache. But when I have 2,
I
dream vividly. And that is insane.
I don't even know if that's... I think a lot of your stuff, by the way, is like a placebo effect.
No, but ZMA, which is that supplement, zinc, magnesium, and arginine or something. Mm-hmm. They say that causes vivid dreams. I think magnesium does. But isn't it fascinating that I'm not dreaming ever, or maybe I'm just dreaming like I'm not dreaming.
I have vivid dreams though, but I always have had vivid dreams.
But you take 3 magnesium.
Yeah, but I've always had vivid dreams, Matt.
But isn't that fascinating? Like, for whatever I do, maybe it's because I'm lifting heavy and I'm jacked, or maybe it's because like, I also notice I dream if I go light on lifting for a while. Or if I do more cardio, I'll dream. I think there's something about heavy weightlifting that your body is so focused on repairing at night that it doesn't allow you to dream that way. Like, it's just so focused on the core healing.
I don't know.
But that said, you still must be dreaming. Right? No, like, I'm not cognizant that I'm dreaming in whatever my REM sleep state is.
Right.
But you have to be dreaming at all times, don't you?
I mean,
the brain is moving.
I think the whole thing is that everybody dreams every night or something. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, you should. But I noticed that, like I said, if I go lighter on the weights or if I do more cardio or if I have more magnesium, I'll dream just like that. Mm-hmm. Do you find, though, like, isn't dreaming important to resolving the day and resolving a lot of issues you're going through? Like, do you come out of vivid dreams feeling something that helps you move on or close the loop on something?
I think that all depends on what you're dreaming.
Does it
other
make you
times.
feel, doesn't dreaming, like a good vivid dream, doesn't it make you almost get that feeling of affirmation that there's something more? Or do you think it's just your brain? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where did that come from? Like a movie.
Well, I think the problem is, like, when I have vivid dreams about things that really that wouldn't make much sense for me to feel closure on a subject or something like that. It's so incredibly random that I really can't draw any conclusion from it. I used to have a dream book when I was
That's
younger.
a good idea to do.
Have a dream book?
You should still do it. Because, like, when you come out of a vivid dream, it's so real. And then almost like that feeling when you wake up in the morning and you can't make a fist. You know that?
You always say that.
We'll do it tomorrow. Like, you wake up, you can't make a fist.
So weird.
No matter how hard you squeeze, you can't make a fist when you wake up in the morning. Everybody on this podcast, try it. Not tomorrow because you won't hear it by that time, but make the fist. You can't do it. And then within 5 minutes, you can make a fist again. To me, that's almost like the analogous to dreams. A good vivid dream, it is so real at that very end of coming out of the dream. And then right when you wake up, and then you just forget it like a fleeting memory. And it's good to write those down because you ever have that where you're in the day and you feel like you're having deja vu and it wasn't your life, but it was like a dream.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy with the magnesium part. I don't know. I read a good article in The Atlantic about sleep and people trying to figure out whether they can do microbursts of sleep.
Right.
Like not sleep the full 8 hours at night, but sleep like 2 hours.
And it's always being written about and researched about that whole 6 to 8 hours. Is it really 6 or is it 8 or is it 7? Like, what's the perfect?
What do you need?
What do I need?
Like, no. What do you? You have to notice a difference in your living, like based on how. Do you feel less in control on the days when you work out and you get up really early? So not only are you getting up early at 5, but then you're putting extra stress through the workout. Do you feel different on those days than you do on the days you don't wake up to get to work out? Or do you feel more edgy?
I feel like sometimes that my body almost crashes more the day after. So those are those nights I fall asleep earlier. I think, and repeated getting up really, really early and getting to sleep a little bit later. But I feel like I have the bad habit too sometimes of not going to sleep early enough.
But isn't that the hard thing? I've done many a podcast about this, and I don't even know if you hear them, because I hope you don't take anything personally if I say something. Do you ever hear something and you're like, I'm not even going to talk to him about it?
Well, you always, I notice that when you say something about me, you always preface it with, now I love my wife.
Yeah.
But
you got to do that, right?
Right. I guess so.
Don't you feel that with responsibility? So our son goes to bed. We put him down and we're free and clear at like 8, let's say. We eat at 8:30. Maybe we're done at 9. Then there's chores to do, blah, blah, blah. Don't you almost feel like it's a letdown to go to bed at the right time then? Like you want to squeeze the sap out of the end of that day.
Right.
And it's, for me, I always felt that's where life equalizes, because when you have a kid, not only are you now vulnerable to the world a little bit, because you're like, everything you do is just like, oh my God, that kid, that kid is on your mind. You're worried about everything he does. Maybe you're more overt about it, but I always feel that way. Like, oh, he's out in the world. He's out at school. He's with a nat. It's like, it's so real. And like, you can't be free and easy like you ever were before. But also you just want to, before him, you could just stay up because you didn't need, I was just doing this podcast today. You didn't need a certain amount of bandwidth to get through the day with a child. Right. Like you have to maintain. No, you can't do an extra mile running. Right. You can't do an extra rep or an extra set. Like you got to maintain how much you need to get through the day with him. And he can't suffer for you selfishly doing more or not sleeping enough. But also, like when we come to things and we want to watch stuff or read stuff, and then all of a sudden, you're in bed and it's like 10:30 already.
Right.
And you're just like, oh, it's like the Truman Show or Groundhog Day. It's just going to start over again.
Right.
And we're already, it's such a letdown sometimes when you're just falling asleep at 10:30, and you're like, oh, it's all going to start again tomorrow. And catching that rabbit by the tail is very hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we ever had it before a child, like if we ever quite managed it to that level. And I think you don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate that flexibility with life until you have a child. And it's not like you can go back then.
Right.
And be like, let me live those years differently.
Right.
But that to me is that's a difficult part. And I think what ends up happening is because of the fight to stay up another 10 or 15 minutes to get through something that you had left to the end of the day to try to read or to try to watch or, some clip you saved, you end up falling asleep, not ready.
Well, and I think too, it all, our schedule is determined too on the fact of what time you get home. Your commute is longer, and if you were home earlier, we would have a totally different schedule. So that's a huge factor that determines the process for us at night.
Really? You think it's that big of a deal?
Yeah, because say, for instance, you got home at 6 o'clock, we might be able to eat dinner as a family at 6 o'clock. And then that way, when it's time to put him to bed at 8 o'clock, we'd probably be able to be doing what we want to be doing by 8:30. You know what I mean?
Is that to you like one of the bigger letdowns of child life is not eating at... We used to be so tidy about eating at 7. We'd be done at 7:30. We'd be on the couch relaxing. Like that relaxed time, and I'm speaking to you right now. I love you, but I'm saying that relaxed time resets you. And don't you sometimes feel like you're not as in control when you're sitting down on the couch at 9:30 for the first time, and it's not quite relaxed at that point. And then all of a sudden we start getting tired, and then it's like, oh, let's go upstairs, but we're going to go upstairs. Then we're just going to see. For me, the worst is when I don't act mature, and when I'm starting to nod off, I don't just close up whatever I'm doing, put my sleep mask on, and go to bed. Because what happens is you fall asleep in a bizarre position. Your iPad is sitting on you. You don't have the sleep machine on. You have 2 pillows loaded up, so you've cranked your neck up. You're not getting a good night of sleep, and you're now that worse off for the next day.
Right.
And there was one day last week where I had the AirPods in, and that's my biggest fear in life. No, I'm just kidding. No, one of my big worries is wearing those because I think they're great for sleeping, but I'm like really afraid to fall asleep with them because they're so expensive.
Right.
That I don't want to lose them. And then you're going to think I'm looking for Liam in the bed, but it's really an AirPod. And so I fell asleep one night like that, and it can happen so fast. It can happen on a razor's edge. You can just you're asleep before even knowing it. Like when I'm looking over at you at night, I'm like, you there? You okay? Yeah, I'm watching.
Right.
No, I'm awake. Stop it. I'm awake. And then, it's like, I get, chastened by it. And then I look over and I'm like, Melany. Okay. Good night.
Yeah, but you know what? You always lie and say that you're not sleeping, and you're clearly sleeping.
Well, not as much though. I don't do it that much.
Because the iPad is falling.
Oh, it's falling. Yeah.
And you're like, it's heavy. It's not heavy.
That's creepy though. When that happens, and then the next day we go to watch the thing, and we're like 20 minutes in, and I'm like, how was I even holding the iPad? I don't remember
it,
1 second of this show.
Well, I think too, like sometimes it just falls at an angle where I'm like, well, I guess I'll just keep watching it. I can see it halfway. It's tilted, but I can get the gist of what's going on.
Well, it was funny. The other night when we did the Oscar podcast, you went to sleep on your own because we were doing this till all hours. And I was going to bed eventually. I'm like, what the hell is that? And there was an iPad in bed because I guess you had fallen asleep.
No, I just put it there because I wasn't going to get out of bed and put it on your side. I didn't think you were going to be up there that late. So,
well, and so one of our big things is that you were able to push through and get me a sleep study.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a hell of an experience. I feel like I was going to boot camp.
I'll always remember you sending that picture.
Yeah, I was covered like a mummy.
You were in like a hairnet.
Did you have an expectation? I didn't have the sleep. Did I have the sleep thing since we've been in Edgewater? It was always here. No, it was always in...
no, it was only here.
It was always here. By the way, folks, one of the biggest things you can do to spice up your relationship, switch sides of the bed. Wasn't that a game changer? Didn't that kind of push us ahead?
What?
Didn't that like just...
Make us go to the sleep study?
No. I'm saying in general, like switching sides of the bed, like we just defaulted to being on the sides of the bed we were. Mm-hmm. I don't even know why that is. Like what goes into that? There's got to be a study on that. But I was on the right side. You were on the left side. Same bed since Edgewater. And then when we get here, I don't even know what it was. What was it that had us change?
Because I got the chair for you.
Right. So just because you get a chair for me for my birthday, we change sides of the bed. It was like living in another country. Right?
I guess. I think
shock.
it affected you way more. You get affected by things like that.
But didn't you ever wake up and go like, where am I?
Maybe, no, I don't think I ever did that, but I think just getting used to being on that side, like getting up to go to the bathroom.
And the side, like the side you sleep on almost changes a little bit.
Mm.
Did you think everything was going to be fixed with a sleep mask though?
I didn't think that the dreaming was necessarily going to stop. I thought that the snoring.
It's actually almost been as difficult as before at this point, right?
No, it's not at all. Not at all.
On a night where things go, because very rarely did things go well a whole night before
mm-hmm.
this, right?
Right.
Like there was always at least a blip.
Yeah.
And that's scary that I would go a whole night where there would be that much messed up sleep.
Right.
I mean, that to me is insane. So
right.
Somehow we were able to finagle me into a sleep study.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a weird time. That was before Liam was born, right? Or was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is even stranger. So you're home alone here. I have to like drive by myself after work with a duffel bag of clothes for the next day.
Yep.
And I drive to the, what hospital was it? St. Barnabas?
Clair's? Was it at St. Clair's?
Is St. Barnabas a hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was St. Barnabas.
Okay.
And I go in there, and it's just the normal hospital, but you walk in like a side exit. You walk in at 6, you're not allowed out again, mm-hmm. which is strange. And then they put you into a room, which is like a quasi hotel room made up, a fake hotel room made up as a hospital room. It was just a hospital room. And they're like, okay, just go in here, do whatever you want. We'll come and get you at 8. And I don't even remember what I ate. I don't think they gave me food. I think I stopped and got food.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't even feel like it was me that went through that. That's how weird it was. So at like 8 o'clock, and first of all, you're basically being told you're going to have to go to bed at 8 o'clock.
Really?
Or like 9 o'clock. So what happens is, I remember I just started watching like a bunch of Breaking Bad episodes again.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not good for the sleep thing, or maybe it is good so that they can get the true effect when they're watching you all night.
Mm-hmm.
They bring you into a room at like 8 o'clock and they just make you up like a mummy. They hook things into your nose, into your lobes, into like your chest, everything.
Mm-hmm.
No pants. No, I'm just kidding. And then they move you back into the room and they're like, all right, kind of lights out. And I think I had talked to you earlier, and then I was just like you can't, I don't even think you could have your phone. You couldn't have anything. And then there was like a performance anxiety about going to sleep
mm-hmm.
because you were going to go to sleep and there's a control room of 3 people watching you sleep along with a bunch of other people. My face is covered in gauze and things in my nose and my head. So it's not an amazingly good sleep. And I think I went to bed. I think they make you go to bed at like 10 maybe, or it might have been, I don't even remember when, but you go to bed and the whole night is a where am I right now?
Mm-hmm.
You end up waking up and you're almost like, was I at a party? I don't even know what just happened last night. It was like 6 a.m. and they're like, all right, we'll see you later. And then didn't you come with me to go over the results?
Yes.
And then the doctor sort of lied about my results in order for us to get the sleep machine because to save you with the snoring.
No, well, you had a mild case, Matt. It was pretty bad. It's pretty bad. You're better off. You're much better off. I wouldn't have been able to like stay in the same room with you if you didn't have a sleep mask. Your snoring is that bad.
So it's that much of a difference. Mm-hmm. And most of the night I sleep with it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. The sleep mask thing is...
I get mad when you leave it at home. Like if we go away.
Oh, we go away. Because when you go away, you drink and that makes it way worse, right?
Yes.
You like actually, you hold a lot of contempt for me from those night times, I feel like.
Oh, stop.
Like you let it bleed into our day.
Yeah, completely, Matt. Completely.
The sleep mask thing is weird though. And the funny thing is like you got me into that. I never would have done that myself. And the amount of guys come up to me and they're like, wait, what do you do? Like, how does it work? It's okay. Like they feel like it's a failure of manhood to give into like
a sleep mask.
A sleep mask.
Well, and I think too that, sleep masks have really changed too. And there's different levels of them. Like there are some people that have a huge apparatus around their head and it's like,
Well, and they're the
like
ones who
alien.
can't even breathe. Like they're actually
They have
like stoppages during the night.
But yours isn't it called the nasal pillow?
The nasal pillow.
That's right.
Yeah, it is. I guess I get better sleep with it.
Yeah.
When I wear it.
I like how the one company used to send you little treats every time they would send you parts.
Yeah, now they just send me copays.
Yeah, now
the
they
new
just
one.
send you copays. Yeah.
That's total baloney. But yeah, I do like. I like bringing it on vacation. And
do you feel that you sleep better? Do you notice a difference?
Maybe initially.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say at this point though because I've had it. I don't even know how many years I've had it now. Is it 4 years?
Probably, if not more.
Yeah, I just remember. Were you home when the nurse came?
Yes.
And showed us?
Yes.
I feel like I was getting like chemo or something.
Oh, God.
No, I don't mean it like that. I just mean like, it was almost like, your life is going to be different. To me, the fascinating thing about a sleep mask, though, is that, because I always think this way. In history, right? Say you had a neck crink that like you're debilitated with it, or when you had the back thing where you just can't even function. Like you're in such pain as the day goes. Like what did people do 500 years ago when they got that? It's not like we're special and we're getting these things now. Like what did people do? People were like, well, they had tree bark, and aspirin and they drank whiskey. And it's like, did people get things like that intense? Or are we getting it because we're like exercising with weights and they weren't doing that then? I mean, people had to get things like that. People had to get migraines.
I think with evolution.
I guess we're evolving to lesser creatures.
Right.
But
more animals.
The sleep thing, 500 years ago, I still have this. And maybe I'm eating worse foods and I'm more overweight. And I, I'm not sleeping through the night. I'm always snoring. Although I guess you only live to be 40 then.
Right. That's true.
But like this funny little contraption, which just goes through your nose, and all it's doing is forcing you not to breathe through your mouth and breathe through your nose. And that is the secret to this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Like that's it. Mm-hmm. And now you're all of a sudden fine.
But there are times too where you will start to snore even with that on.
Really?
On the really bad nights.
Is that right?
Because it's almost like you're just
I want to breathe through my mouth so bad or something.
Yeah, and maybe that's when you get a little when you're congested.
You can't wear it.
You can't even wear it.
Like we'll actually split rooms.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about it?
About what?
Like why don't you have trouble sleeping? Like what is it about me?
Everybody's different, Their anatomy is different. Like you have, like a raised tongue in the back. So you're...
Oh my God. Do you remember? Oh God. When we saw some like lesser than doctors way out here in West New Jersey.
Well, it wasn't lesser than. They just wanted to do surgery and they were going to like cut your tongue down.
They're like, all right.
Shave your throat or
Oh
something.
my God.
But that happens, by the way.
And then
People
this doctor
have that.
gives me a nasal pillow and I'm fine.
Well,
I think
no,
they
no,
were
no, no,
very
no, no, no.
pro-surgery.
I think it depends on whether or not you want to wear a sleep mask for the rest of your life.
Yeah, but I don't mind. Like, we went to that doctor and they're like, yeah, we can get you in like a month. We'll just shave down your throat. And it's like, what the? And then they were like, it'll be painful for like 3 months.
And then I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I remember
your mom is like, absolutely not. Are you guys out of there?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're about to throw me into that. Yeah, I'm just, sleep is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Why we need it?
Mm-hmm.
8 hours, 6 hours with a baby.
I mean, yeah.
You know, it's,
And I think functioning, that's very individual too. How much
you're much better than I am.
I'm way better than you are.
I mean, I almost can't. I mean, today my body woke me up at 6, so I just decided let me try to work out on a Saturday because you just can't get it in otherwise. I'm just broken. I'm a broken man. I don't have anything.
Yeah.
Like I lifted. When I was done lifting, I was like, and then cardio, I was like, I think I need to go to bed.
Well,
and then a toddler's waking up.
Told her not to do that.
But why are you able to function through it? I don't get it. Like you get up at 4:45 on like a Monday and you're still going strong at night. What is that? Don't you feel awfully tired?
I think it's almost like it hits you at certain points and then, you know, especially like, you know, before I have dinner, I can get tired. But I think I know that I have to fight through stuff sometimes.
So you are exhausted. You're just fighting it.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
It's not like you're...
But I'm just better
complaining.
to function.
I'm just complaining loudly.
Yes, you are.
But
it's better. I mean, I kept around. We're still, you know, we're still together. And I'm, you know, it leads for good conversation, good topics.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the, as we close out, there were some epic sleep stories and I'm not even thinking of it. Like all the stories you've told, oh my God, you had a good one with the Ambien.
Yeah.
And people have said that that's true. Mm-hmm. It was it freaked me out so badly. We're in the Edgewater apartment. We're in the living room. And I don't know, why were you starting to take Ambien? I don't remember why.
I think I was just having problems sleeping.
And I think it's because you were having to get up so early to go to the gym and then to go to school because you were like 50 miles away. Mm-hmm. And I think you were getting that same thing I got with having to get up to get the bagels and open the coffee shop. Like I think it was affecting your sleep because you knew how much was in front of you and that you had to get up. Mm-hmm. You couldn't mess around. But you for some reason you started taking it and you had a problem. No, I'm just kidding. You took it the first night,
no,
right?
The problem is I would take it and they say you're supposed to take it.
Go right to bed.
Like while you're in bed. But I took it and was just
and then we
still
sat
sitting
down
on
to
the
like
couch.
watch TV.
No, I took it while we were watching and then all of a sudden I fell asleep and then when I woke up I was hallucinating.
To me, you were awake the whole time. Your eyes were open. And then I said, Melanie, why don't we go to bed? And you said, who are all these people? And I'm so freaked out by ghosts and all this stuff.
No, I thought I only said, no, I said, no, that's not how it happened. You said, why don't we go to bed? And then I went to get up and I couldn't, like I fell back on the couch. And then I was like looking at my hand and I was like, what did I say? Something about my hand. And then you got very upset and you were helping me to bed. And then that's when I said, who are all these people?
Do you even remember that moment?
I remember moments. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you actually remember seeing people?
No, I remember like hallucinating with my hand. And
what were you seeing?
Like my hand just looked like a lot of hands.
Really?
Yeah.
How weird is it that people drive?
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't even imagine. It's worse than, no, you know, I can't even say because I don't know, but
I think
It's
I
like
would be a
drunk driving.
disaster. I would be a disaster if I took Ambien.
Yeah. Well, like, people take things, a lot of people take some sort of sleep aid, whether it's, an Ambien or something else, Lunesta, something, when they have a job where they have to get up early.
But you know what? I feel like it affects you a lot the next day, regardless of if it's helping you go to sleep. It's not like the half-life of it wears off. It's always in you. And that, to me, I feel like with my sensitivities to freaking magnesium and coffee,
you would be
that if I took it, I would be up the next day and I would
but I don't think you need it, Matt.
I'd be speaking to so many people. I would just be a mess.
Right.
You stopped immediately.
I did. And then I took something else.
You don't need anything,
I took Lunesta. Right? Well, I needed it at that point, but I don't need it now. No.
Not with a baby.
We don't have a baby. We have a toddler.
Liam Nesta.
Yeah, Liam Nesta. That's
you don't
what we
need
have.
it. We're tired.
Yes.
So that was an hour.
All right, let's go to bed.
Are you happy you were on a podcast?
Yeah, sure. I'm here to...
Do you still want to come on again?
Tell embarrassing stories about you. And let other people know if your spouse or your significant other is snoring, you don't have to live that way.
Send them to a sleep study. Get the good gauze picture.
I think you even put that up on Facebook. You really have no shame.
Look, I'm all for a night out. There was an exciting factor about everybody catering to you.
That's true.
And then going to bed. The creepy thing was when we met with the doctor and we're like going over, at 3 a.m. you did this. And you're like, ooh,
right. Yeah.
Only Melanie's done that before. Well, my podcast star wife, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks a lot.
Of course.
Sleep well, everyone.